Do alcohol inks work on canvas? Want to know? I'll show you. Hi everyone, it's Miriam with a Y from Miriam's Nature. I get asked often if alcohol inks can be used on canvas. Canvases are somewhat porous, so you'd think the answer would be no, especially if you wanted the inks to be able to do their thing. You know, the magic of moving and blooming. But the truth is that canvases withstand and repel liquids long enough for alcohol inks to be fun. Now, some people treat their canvases with a primer of some sort in order to make the canvas closer to fully non-porous, but I don't tend to. I like the look of alcohol ink on nearly bare canvas. The vast majority of canvases you buy nowadays come primed to some degree, and for me, it's just enough. I like the slightly different way that the inks move on this surface and the way the edges of each color dry. For the painting in this video, part 1, let's see if my new blowing technique can work on canvas. I'm going to use 4 Jacquard PIñATA Alcohol Inks. I'm going to use Passion Purple, Señorita Magenta, Rainforest Green, and Baja Blue. Each of them has been thinned down considerably with 91% isopropyl alcohol. I've taped the border of a canvas panel. Now, because of the texture of the canvas, the ink is probably going to leak a little because the tape can't make perfect contact since this isn't a totally smooth surface, but that's okay. We'll take care of any little leaks later if necessary. Now, unlike when we use a canvas panel for acrylic pouring, for example, when the panel would have to stay wet for hours upon hours, and maybe even days as the pour tried to dry, the alcohol ink is going to dry super quickly, so the panel is going to be unaffected. It will not warp or lose its nice flat level shape in any way. And in part 2 of this series, I'll show you an advantage to using these. Yeah, I know, I'm a tease, but it'll be worth it, I promise. Now, if you haven't seen this blowing technique yet, I have the blow dryer on the entire time as I'm dropping or writing lines of ink in front of the continuous airstream. Because of that, I'm going to have faint music playing just to keep you company instead of having you listen to the blow dryer, because I'm sorry, that's just not fun. There is nothing pleasant about that sound for more than like 10 seconds. So the music is better, I promise. Okay, let's do this. I have my little canvas on a Lazy Susan to make life a little easier for me. I have my blow dryer in hand and all of my colors have been thinned with 91% isopropyl alcohol. So I am ready to do this. I almost don't even need the purple because the magenta and the Baja Blue already make this really pretty purple. Now, if I want, I can even use isopropyl alcohol to lighten some areas or remove them altogether. Now, keep in mind, some colors will stain, so you won't always be able to get back down to the white of the canvas. This is true on Yupo as well, and on Duralar. Some colors just really are a bear to remove once they've hit a non-glass or ceramic-like surface. So if you like lighter colors, this will be a great way to achieve that, just by putting your color down and then taking it down to a more pastel-y quality with the alcohol. But I want to bring it back up to a richer state, so I'm going to add a little bit more on top of this. So that is more what I was after personally. I wanted the brighter colors for the next step. But I suspect that there's going to be a lot of leakage, because when I was adding more and more color, it really pooled here and ran under the tape. So chances are my borders are totally obliterated. But if that's the case, we can fix it. Now that I'm happy with this and I like the balance of color, there's enough variety, I think we can take it a little further. So let's add some fun to this. For that, I'm going to introduce what may be a new tool to some of you, but is definitely a valuable one if alcohol inks are something with which you really want to have as much fun as possible. Enter the humble micro dental brush. And at least that's what I know them as, because I first noticed them at my dentist a few years ago. But I also see them listed online as a makeup tool for eyelash glue. So like for false eyelashes. These come in slightly different sizes. I like the smallest one, or the near smallest one. I think there's one that might be a teeny bit smaller than this. These behave almost like little Q-tip cotton swabs with a couple of serious advantages. They don't leave fibers behind in your work, and they're more precise. So now I'm going to add a little bit of straight isopropyl alcohol to my little palette here. And with my little dotting tool, which you can bend, by the way, so I'm going to do that. You can bend it at this point right here, and I'm going to do that just so that you can better see what I'm doing, so I don't have to point straight down and block your view. I can be a little offset, and I'm just going to dunk my little tool. I don't want it to be sopping wet, but I'm going to start out, let's say, here. I'm just going to drop it and progress. And come back in and reload and choose another spot to do the same thing. These are wonderful dotting tools. On a canvas, it's more challenging to get smooth, round edges, but again, I like the organic shapes. Another wonderful thing that these little brushes can do is they can taper the size of your dots. After you dump one in alcohol, you can apply it several times before it runs out of alcohol, and each successive dot will be automatically smaller than the one before. It's a fun look and super easy to do. Much easier than using like a small paintbrush, because you don't have to worry about the pressure that you tap with. There are no bristles to accidentally splay out too widely or at the wrong angle. And if you want them to be a little brighter, you can always come back in and give it a second little dot because it'll suck up more color. Like these are a little pale, so get a little more color out of these. And when a color is super bright, I may sort of circle around a little bit to really get some color off if I really wanted to go down to as light a color as possible. That's an option too. But the easiest way by far is just tapping. Just make sure that your first tap isn't too wet so that you don't get too big of a bloom. So sometimes I'll tap off just to make sure I'm not overloaded. And for me, I periodically change direction. For your particular piece, you might want all your rays to be traveling in the same way, big at one end and tapering in that direction. But for me, I like to mix and match. So some of mine are big at this end and then taper here, and some have a big start here and taper this way. That's a personal choice. And then you can also add some of your thinned alcohol ink and add dots of color. Up to this point, I've been removing color, but I can also choose to come in and add color. I may choose to give this color, this dot, a little bit of color instead, so that I don't have to keep going back and forth cleaning off my brush. I can just dedicate one of these little guys to pink and then dedicate another one to the blue so that I can switch up the color that I add. I just want some bubbles of color right there just because I think it'd be fun. And a little green, so I'm just tapping green into an area that I made white. Now the purple, the magenta, and the blue play nicely together, but the green, when it hits either the purple or the magenta, makes sort of a browny color, and I don't want any of that brown in this piece, so in order to add green someplace, I have to either make sure that it's only hitting blue, or I've got to clear away some color to put some green down, which is what I did here since there was pink and purple originally. So for example, I'm going to want a little green dot, let's say right here. So I'm just going to wipe away some of the purple and see how it kind of goes brown. So I'm going to clean away more, sop that up, and then now I can safely add green. Just tapping it lightly, and the green will spread in that blank area. And when it hits the walls, I'll stop. I can safely add a blue dot here, because all it's going to hit is green and purple, and the blue is in both of those two colors, so it won't make a brown. And I think I'll make some big bubbles of color up this area here and out here in this area, and I'm going to call that piece done. And one of the reasons that I'm adding the colorful bubbles is to break up some of the areas that the transition colors weren't as nice, or that I didn't want too much repetition in the rows of bubbles. So this just gives me another option, and I like it. And it gives me a little bit more color too. And maybe just one more. And I think that's going to be it. Let's see how bad things are under the tape, because I think it's going to be really bad. I am prepared for a real horror show. I do not have the best feeling about. Yeah, oh yeah, that's where it got bad right there. I could tell that it was leaking under the tape. A lot less than I was expecting, actually. Not that bad at all, really. I mean, it's not great, but I thought it was going to be way worse than this. So, definitely got bad here. It definitely leaked. I wonder if washi tape would do a better job on canvas. I'll have to try that. But this is so easily fixed with white acrylic paint. Now, don't be tempted to use white alcohol ink, because all the alcohol ink will do is blend with this, and you'll just get a tint of blue running down here. But acrylic paint will cover up. So that's what I'll use. And your little brushes, they are still usable. I mean, you can certainly discard them and use fresh ones for your next project, but these can be reused. I sometimes just clean them off, let them sit in alcohol. Whatever this little fuzzy stuff that's attached to the ends lasts quite a long time. So I've been really impressed with how much use I can get out of these. If I swish this one around in alcohol, a lot of the color will come off and eventually won't even tap out blue anymore. And a little more swishing in clean alcohol. And now it probably won't even transfer color anymore. So I can totally use this again. It still looks blue on the tip, but it's totally usable. Now, to correct the edge, all I've done is cut little strips of paper on a paper cutter so that I have perfectly straight edges, and I'm lining them up and covering up my painting with that edge. And then with a paintbrush, I'm using heavy body paint so it has the consistency of toothpaste. And I've chosen that type of paint so that it doesn't want to bleed under the paper. And I set the brush down on the piece of paper and I pull away. And I'll repeat that same brush stroke along the full length of my border to fairly easily create a nice, clean, straight edge. At least that's what should happen. And of course, there's no rule that it has to be done with white paint. You can pick any color you like. And now that's done, the border is completely corrected all the way around. And in case you're curious, the paint that I used for this was Jacquard Americana Premium in titanium white, but really any heavier body paint can do this. Now you've seen that thinned alcohol ink works just fine on store-bought pre-primed canvases. In part 2, we'll see about using ink straight from the bottle for a landscape. I'll show you how I finish off the back of a canvas panel, and I'll show you that advantage I told you about earlier. Links for everything are in the description box below and can be found in the convenient Amazon shopping list I've set up for you. Thank you for using one of my links as your gateway to Amazon right before making any purchase. That is really helping my channel continue. A very extra special thank you to this amazing group of people who have generously contributed as sponsors in the last few weeks. I can't say thank you enough. You are awesome, and I couldn't do this without you. Let me know your thoughts about inks on canvas in the comments, and give a thumbs up to let me know to make more videos for you. Share this wherever you can, and remember to subscribe and ring that bell so that you get every tip, trick, and technique. Thank you for watching. Let your creative nature shine this week. See you in part 2. Bye now.